Good morning. My name is James Forten. I am a wealthy businessman who was born and raised here in Philadelphia, third generation of Fortens to live here. When I was 9 years old, I was present when the reading of the Declaration of Independence was read on July 8th. And when I heard the words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal," I was so moved by those words that I ran home, told my mother that I was going to fight in the army and fight for equality for all people. She told me, "You're 9 years old and you're not doing anything." But I was determined. When I was 14 years old, I decided to ask my mother again. But at this time, I was still working for a gentleman by the name of Robert Bridges. That's the place where my father used to work. And he was a sailmaker. So I told my boss, I said, "Listen, if you convince my mother that I'm working on one of your privateer ships, maybe, just maybe, she might let me fight in the war." Well, it worked. She decided to let me fight. Go out for two deployments. The first deployment, I came back with so much money, my mother was so elated that she said I could do whatever I want. The second deployment, I became a prisoner of war. Now, in those days, a black man who was a prisoner of war, I should have been sent to the West Indies and I would have been a slave for the remainder of my life. But the hand of God was on my side. It just so happens that the captain of the ship had his two sons on board. And the oldest son's been traveling with his dad for many times, but the youngest one, he and I are about the same age. The father looks at me and says, "I need you to keep an eye on my son." I go and I befriend the son. We play a game of marbles. That's what meshed our relationship. I beat the boy so bad that he goes against his dad. His dad comes and his dad and I play. I beat the father as well. But we had so much fun together that the father decided to give me a present. And the gift that he gave me was, he said, "I'm going to send you home to live with my son in England, in his home, and I'm going to give you your freedom, and I'm going to give you an education." I looked at him and I said, "I am so elated, thank you." But I told him I didn't want his gift. He looked at me and he says, "I beg your pardon." He says, "Nah, I don't want the gift." He says, "Why?" I said, "First of all, I'm not a slave. And second of all, I am an American citizen and I would never betray my country." But he was so moved by those words and he liked me so much that instead of sending me to the West Indies, he decided to send me to the prisoner of war camp in New York. I'm there for 9 months. I'm released. When they released me, I thought that because I was a prisoner of war, a free black man, and a citizen of the United States, that they would give me a ride from Brooklyn to Philadelphia. No, all they saw was a black man who was a slave. So they made me walk from Brooklyn to Philadelphia. When I get back home, I looked a mess. My mother and my sister nourished me back to health. And you know what I did? I went back to my boss and I told him that our product is not holding up in war. It's not holding up at sea. And I gave him some ideas to make some changes. You know what he did? He sent me to England to study sailmaking. When I came back, he made me an apprentice. A few years later, he decided to retire. And instead of him handing business down to his sons, he sold the company to me. And I turned it into a multi-million-dollar conglomerate to the point that I become one of the wealthiest men in America. And I become an abolitionist and a strong voice for civil rights and equal rights. That is my story.
And your name again?
James Forten.
Ooh, it is an honor to meet you in the presence, in the flesh. My beautiful black brother.
It is an honor, my dear brother.
Hallelujah.
God bless you, my brother. Merry Christmas to you.
Wow.